Hi and very good morning, everyone. Today I'll take six more questions on epidemiology, epidemiological exercise and screening, and we'll try to understand that, comprehend that in best possible way. So, without delaying, let's start. So, if you see this question, question number 11, 10 questions I have already discussed. Question number 11, it talks about that again the principle will be same. We have to interpret, we have to extract information from the question. So in this question they say that total birth in a year is total birth in a year is 4050, right? 4050. In that 50 are stillbirth, which is written here in the question. 50 neonates 50 neonates die within first 7 days. So they die within first 7 days of life, whereas the number of deaths within 8 to 28 days. So, so 8 to 28 days death, number of deaths within 8 to 28 days of life is 150, right? So they are asking us to calculate neonatal mortality rate. Now, before calculating this, just to remind you, rate and ratio. The simple difference between rate and ratio is numerator is a part of denominator in rate. Ratio, numerator is not a part of denominator, right? Now, what is neonate? We all know, right from birth till 28 days, if we take this age group is called neonate, and in normal terms we say between birth and 1 month. 1 month means 4 weeks, 4 weeks means 28 days, right? So this is neonate, and they're in the question they are telling us to calculate neonatal mortality rate. So how many neonates are dying? So if I see this, the first thing we have to understand, what do we understand by neonatal mortality rate and how it is calculated. So number neonatal we have understood, mortality we know it is death. So number of neonates who are dying out of total live birth, those kids who was born as a live child, and then subsequently they died, they will be considered as live birth. So the question says total birth is 4050, and there is also 50 stillbirth. Now this 50 stillbirth means they have not shown any signs of life. So they died, they were born dead. So 50 stillbirth needs to be subtracted from 4050, so to get the live birth, and which is 4050 minus 50, so that happens to be 400. So 4000 is our live birth. Now, so we have 400 live birth and number of neonates. So neonates in the question, if I go back, 50 neonates die within first 7 days. 50, and if I take how many children died between 8 to 28 days, it is 150. So this 150 and 50 needs to be added, and this becomes 200. So 200 neonatal deaths, right? So out of 4000 live birth, 200 neonatal deaths in the question. So how many in 1000? So what you will do, 200 divided by 4000 into 1000. So this goes 50. So I can say 50 neonatal death per 1000 live birth. So per every 1000 live birth, 50 neonates are dying, right? So this is the way you calculate neonatal mortality rate. In this question, the question is not asking us. If they ask me to calculate what is early neonatal mortality rate, early neonatal mortality between means birth till 7 days, and they have already given the information 50. So if I have to calculate early neonatal mortality rate, so it will be 50 divided by 4000, the same principle, into 1000. if they tell me to calculate, you know, late neonatal, then it will be, you know, from 8 to 28 days. That information also I have. So 150 by 4000 into 1000. So this is the way we calculate neonatal mortality rate, early neonatal mortality rate, late neonatal mortality rate, and subsequently infant mortality rate, under 5 mortality rate, post neonatal mortality rate, and all those. Okay. Now, so this is the first question of today. Let's take the second one. This question number 12. Now, again, the question I think is telling us to calculate sensitivity and specificity. So, whenever this sensitivity, specificity, positive predictive value, negative predictive value, such question comes, the standards which will help you to calculate is, forget the formula A divided by A plus C into 100, or C divided any A, B, C, D. We don't have to remember all those. The first thing which I do, and my way of understanding such questions are, extract the information. Now, a test for hepatitis C is performed for 200 patients with biopsy proven disease. So the question itself says there are 200 patients with biopsy proven disease, right? These 200 people are already diagnosed. Now, on this 200 patients, a test for hepatitis C was performed, and the next part of the question says, and 200 patients known to be free. So we have also 200 people who are not diseased. The question itself says, right, 200 are diseased with biopsy proven, and 200 are not diseased. Now the new test which has been applied shows positive result on 180 of the patients with the disease. So what does that mean? A new test was applied on these 200 patients, and in this 180 people were found positive, right? And negative results on 150 of the patient without disease. So in this 150 of the patients were found negative. So this is the information given in the question. We need to calculate the sensitivity and specificity. Now before going and calculating it or making 2 by 2 table, so I can make 2 by 2 table also, and I can also, without making 2 by 2 table, I can calculate. So let's calculate without making 2 by 2 table first. So what do we understand by sensitivity? Sensitivity means ability of the screening test to diagnose true positive out of total diseased, right? So how many people are suffering from disease, we already know. Out of that, how many are true positive, that is sensitivity. Now what is specificity? Ability of the screening test to correctly identify true negative out of total not disease, right? Out of total not disease means how people, those who are not suffering from disease, the test has been applied, and how many are true negative. Now if you have understood this question can be solved here only. So 200 people are already suffering from disease, we all know, and out of that 180 are positives, so means they are true positives. So 180 by 200 if I do, and if I take percentage, this is my sensitivity. And if somebody asks me what is specificity, so specificity is true negative, so 150 are true negatives out of total not disease, so 200 into 100. So this is my specificity, right? So you can calculate this goes 90%, and here if you calculate, this goes here, this to 75%. So this is a simple way of doing it. We can also make 2 by 2 table for this, for easy understanding also. So let's take, so how many people are diseased and how many people are not diseased, right? These are the two columns. I'll also take the result positive, negative, and this side we have total value. So first what I'll do, I'll try to fill how many people were true positives. Sorry, how many people are diseased. So 200 it is already given. How many people are not diseased? 200. So total happens to be 400. Now the question said that out of 200 diseased people, 180 were true positives. So 180 if I put here, so what will be this cell? This will be 20. I'm not saying what is this 20 or 180. I'm just putting based on the information now. The question also said out of 200 not disease, 150 were true negatives. So I am putting here. So what this becomes 50. Now this becomes 230 and this becomes 230 and this becomes 170. So total 400. Now this is my 2 by 2 table prepared. Now based on this, what is sensitivity? As I said, true positive out of total diseased. Total disease is 200, true positive is this. Now also here I'll tell you which is true positive, which is false positive, is it true negative, which is false negative, and all those. We don't have to remember, we have to only match the column and the row. If I tell you students to match this column and the row, so in this cell it is, the column says it is diseased and the cell says it is positive. So people are diseased also and the test is also showing positive. So this will be definitely my true positive. Now you take randomly any cell. What is this 50 here? So before saying it is true, false, anything, put what is the column mentioning. The column says not disease and the row says no, it is positive. So the people are not diseased but the test is giving positive. So it is false positive. What is this 20? Again match the row and column. So it is diseased and negative. So people are diseased and but the test is saying negative. So it is my false negative. What is 150? Match this column and row. So this is my negative and not disease. So people are not suffering from disease and they are negative also. So this is my true negative. Right? This is the way of understanding true positive, false positive, true negative, false negative. And I know what is sensitivity. Ability of the screening test to correctly identify true positive out of total diseased. And just we take the percentage. What is specificity here? Ability of the screening test to correctly identify true negative out of total not disease. So the answer is same. Okay, let's go to the third question. Question number 13. Now, in a population of 10,000, so we have a population of 10,000 people, the prevalence is 20%. Okay. Sensitivity of the screening test is 95%. Specificity is 80%. This is given in the question. So what is positive predictive value, which is PPV? Now before going into, so we have to understand before calculating what is positive predictive value. If I go back in the question, and if suppose this is my 2 by 2 table, this question did not ask us to calculate positive predictive value or negative predictive value, but if I have to calculate here positive predictive value, how will I do? So before that, what is positive predictive value? Capacity of the screening test to correctly identify true positive, which is 180 in this question, out of total positive predicted. Total positive predicted was 230 here. So 180 by 230 into 100. What is negative predictive value here? Capacity of the screening test to predict true negative, which is 150, out of total negative predicted, which is 170, into 100, right? So, and if I put, so if you see sensitivity and positive predictive value, the only difference is the denominator. In sensitivity, the denominator is total diseased. In positive predictive value, the denominator is total positive. In specificity, the denominator is total not disease. In negative predictive value, the denominator is total negative, right? If you have understood this, let's go and calculate this question. So before this, let's make the 2 by 2 table so that for proper understanding. So the population is 10,000, prevalence is 20%. So 20% of 10,000 will be definitely suffering from disease. So these are people who are diseased, and so in 10,000, 2,000 people are diseased. So 10,000 minus 2,000, 8,000 is my not diseased population, right? So I know my disease now, I know my not disease now. I know sensitivity is 95%, specificity is 80%. Now let's make 2 by 2 table. Again, put diseased, put not diseased. Okay, so this is positive, this is my negative, right? Now what information we have? 2,000 people are diseased, 8,000 people are not diseased. Total population happens to be 10,000, right? Now let's go back to the question. Question says sensitivity is 95%. The question itself says sensitivity is 95%. What is sensitivity? True positive out of total diseased. In this question, total disease is 2,000. So 95% of 2,000 will be total true positive. So 95% of 2,000 will happen to be 95 by 100 into 2,000. So this goes, it will be 1900. So 1900 I'll put here, which is my true positive. So 100 will be my false negative. Let's go back to the next part of the question. Specificity is 80%. You know what is specificity? I've already said true negative out of total not disease. So total not disease is 8,000. So 80% of 8,000 will be my true negative. So 80% of 100 into 8,000 happens to be 6,400. So I put my value here 6,400. The moment I put here 6,400, this becomes 1,600, and now you can add this becomes 3,500. This is my 6,500, and the addition also makes into 10,000. So this is my 2 by 2 table. Now the question has told me to calculate positive predictive value. Positive predictive value is capacity of the screening test to correctly identify true positives out of total positive predicted. So 1900 divided by 3500 into 100, this gives me positive predictive value. So if you subtract this, roughly the answer will be more than 50% of roughly around 54%. So this is my positive predictive value. If I have to calculate negative predictive value, so I'll repeat once again, capacity of the screening test to correctly identify true negative out of total negative predicted. So 6,400 out of 6,500 into 100 will you do? This is your negative predictive value. Okay, so this is the way these questions are solved. Such questions are solved. Now, the question 14, this will be a test. Let's try to understand. Because they are telling, if I can see the question, calculate positive predictive value, negative predictive value, sensitivity and specificity. If you have understood the last two questions, it will be very easy for us to calculate this question, and we can check whether we have understood correctly or not. So in this slide, what I'll do, I'll try to extract the information first from the question. In a group of patients presenting to a hospital emergency with abdominal pain, 30% of patients have acute appendicitis. So 30% of patients have acute appendicitis. Now, before going further, if I take a population of 100, let's assume a population of 100, right? So 30% of 100 will suffer from acute appendicitis as it is given in the questions. So 30 are acute appendicitis for me, so for me it is diseased. If 30 are diseased, 70 are not diseased. So I got my diseased and not diseased people. So first part I have done. Now I'll read the other part of the question. 70% of patient with appendicitis means 70% of patient with disease. 70% of 30, I mean those who are diseased, here in the question is disease, have temperature greater than 37.5 degrees. Means they are diseased, they are suffering from appendicitis, and when you measure the temperature, it was greater than 37.5. So 70% of 30, which is 21 if I can calculate. So this is my true positive here. Okay. Now, the other part of the question says 40% of patient without appendicitis. So 40% of patient with means not disease without appendicitis, they are not suffering from disease, have temperature greater than 37.5 degrees. Now, so 40% of not disease means 40 by 100 into 70 if I do. So this 28 people are not diseased, but they have temperature 37.5 degree, greater than 37.5 degree. So this we can consider it as false positive. Now let's put all this information in 2 by 2 table. Again, diseased, not diseased, positive, negative, okay, yeah, I have to put it here, yeah, so this is my total, right? How many diseased? 30. How many not diseased? 70. Total 100, right? So 70% of total disease were having temperature greater than 37.5, right? So that was 21. So 30 is total disease, 21 are true positive, 9 will be by false negative. The question also said 40% of 70, which we calculated in the last slide, it was 28, were not suffering from disease, but their temperature was greater than 37.5. So this is my false positive. So if this is 28, 70, so this is my 42 will be my true negative. Now you add this becomes 49, this becomes 51. Now this is the 2 by 2 table made. How did we reach to this 2 by 2 table? The information about 21 was given in percentage form, and that was 30% of 30, sorry, 70% of 30 were true positive, which was given in the question, and the information of 28 was also given. 30% of not disease, which is 70, not 30, it was 40, sorry, 40%. 40% 70 were not disease, but they are having temperature greater than 37.5, so that was 28, that was my false positive. So when I put all this value, I get this 2 by 2 table. Now what is my sensitivity now here? Again, student, ability of the screening test to correctly identify true positive out of total disease. So 21 by 30 into 100. What is specificity? Ability of the screening test to correctly identify true negative out of total not disease. So 42 by 70 into 100. What is my positive predictive value? Capacity of the screening test to correctly identify true positive out of total positive predicted. So it is 21 by 49, and then you can take out percentage. What is negative predictive value? Capacity of the screening test to correctly identify true negative out of total negative predicted. So it is 42 by 51 into 100. So this is my negative predictive value, this is my positive predictive value, this is my sensitivity, and this is my specificity. So the only catch here, and if I can summarize here in small part, sensitivity true positive out of total diseased. Please remember total diseased. Specificity true negative out of total not disease. Positive predictive value true positive out of total positive predicted by the test. Negative predictive value true negative out of total negative predicted, right? This is the basic difference between sensitivity, and the only difference is the denominator of sensitivity and positive predictive value, denominator of specificity to and negative predictive value. So this is the way such these questions are solved, and it becomes very easy. I'll stop it here. I don't want to make a very big video which will be difficult for us to watch. And if you like this content the way I explain, please subscribe my channel, and please press the bell icon. I'll finish the other questions at the earliest. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.